All right, so this is a State of the Vikings podcast. What should the Vikings do going into 2019 if they're going to have any shot of relevancy? And then any Vikings-related news that came up this past week after I just went off on the Vikings and how Mike Zimmer should be fired. We'll talk about that. This is Realistic Randy, Mediokr, Best Sports Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. First Vikings-related news, Corey Zimmer-White, Mike Zimmer's daughter, is not a fan of me whatsoever. I posted on Instagram how her father, Mike Zimmer, should be fired. I've had enough with this dude. I'm not backing down from that whatsoever. And she commented, and her handle on Instagram is LittlesMC. And I went to check it out. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is her. And I went to check it out, and she blocked me on Instagram. I didn't even know you could block people from Instagram. I'm not really on Instagram that much. But I checked it out, and yeah, that's Mike Zimmer's daughter. And she said on my video, she commented, quote, "You're an idiot." And a lot of Mike Zimmer fans out there have said that. Now, this is different with his daughter. I totally get it. That's her father. That's her family. If she's sticking up for her family, you got to stick up for your family, especially if someone's just bashing him. I've never taken a personal shot at Mike Zimmer, but I understand where she's coming from. I would probably do the same thing. Totally understood. With that said, I would tell her, and if Mike Zimmer ever wanted to do a sit down with me and call me out or anybody else, I would tell them that Mike Zimmer is a fake-ass head coach. Straight up, this dude is a defensive coordinator who has a title of head coach, and it's ridiculous. And don't take my word for it. All he does is care for the defense. Don't take my word for it. The end of the season press conference that this dude did this week after the season was over with, this dude 30 seconds into the press conference, the defense just giving nonstop praise to the defense.
There are a lot of good positive things. We finished top 5 in defense again. We finished in number 1 in red zone defense. Finished in number 1 in third down defense again. So there's a lot of good things.
And if all you do is care about defense, and don't tell me that Rick Spielman is the only one responsible for drafting Mike Hughes. You really don't think Mike Zimmer has anything to do with that? A defensive-first head coach who neglects the offense and just basically makes the offensive coordinator a co-head coach in a sense? Don't tell me nothing about and if all you do is care about defense, go be a defensive coordinator. I don't understand why people are coming at me. And this year or last year, we had the Case Brigade. The Case Keenum fans came at me nonstop. We need to keep Case Keenum. He worked so hard and so much adversity and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Case Keenum was trashed this year. His team is out of the playoffs just like Kirk Cousins' team is. They fired their head coach, and they're looking for a new quarterback as soon as possible. Okay, now this year, that was last year, the Case Brigade. This year, you've got the Mike Zimmer stands who will stick up for this dude no matter what. And then you've got the Anthony Barr train. So last year, you had the Case Brigade. This year, Mike Zimmer stands in the Barr train. And it's crazy because when it comes to Mike Zimmer, the nonstop excuses, all I've seen throughout all the comments and stuff and whatever is, you're an idiot, or these excuses that I'm going to go over in a second, but no one has ever addressed a legitimate reason for why the specific things that I brought up when it comes to Mike Zimmer, whether it's piss poor game management, not having his team ready in the big moments, in the big stages, 9-8 in nationally televised games. That's just the regular season. If you include the playoffs, you're 10-10. You are literally an average coach. You are the Marvin Lewis of the NFC. Your team on the big stages looks like they could maybe take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers instead of a team from the National Football League. So don't talk to me about that. And then going through offensive coordinators left and right. No one has given me a legit reason for that except you're an idiot. Okay, so don't get me started on that. And I'm going to get into the most common excuses that I see from you Mike Zimmer stands. I'm going to get into y'all. But the most common excuses that I see from you Mike Zimmer stands, before I get into that, something that I've seen come up a couple of times, and this isn't addressed to Mike Zimmer because he was actually asked this question regarding Tony Sparano, so I'm not even going to really go after him with this, but I've seen articles being written about this. I've seen this on Twitter, on Facebook, as far as this reason. Oh, Tony Sparano's death. Oh, this caused the Vikings. This is why they couldn't do well this season. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and tell a team how they should or shouldn't react off of the death of what seems to be a really, really good man that he was to this team and to those players. I'm not going to tell anyone how they should or shouldn't respond to that, or how, the Vikings, oh, you guys should have this game plan intact, or some sort of plan to where this team can overcome that. I'm not going to say that. But I will say this. If we're using Tony Sparano's death as a cop-out or deflection to deflect from accountability, that's incredibly weak and incredibly disrespectful to Tony Sparano's family, all right? So I'm not saying it's a cop-out or not, but I'm just saying if that's what we're doing, I don't know, man. And not only that, the things that we saw this year, it's not like we haven't seen it before when Tony Sparano was with the team. As far as the offensive line being bad, that's not a shot at Tony Sparano. I just think he dealt with the cards that he had. But as far as the team being soft, not showing up on the big stages, 2016, we saw that. Okay, the offensive line being garbage. We've seen that before. The team falling apart on the big stages. Mike Zimmer not being good at game management. Okay, not having good relationship with offensive coordinators. We've seen this before Tony Sparano's unfortunate passing. So I just want to make sure that we're not using this dude as an excuse, because that's incredibly disrespectful if we are doing that. Now getting into the most common excuses that I've seen from you Mike Zimmer stands: injuries. Okay, injuries. Oh, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, Dalvin Cook, Mike Hughes. He went through all these unfortunate injuries. Oh, okay. So the Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings are the only NFL team that has to deal with key injuries in a season. They're the only teams that have to do that. That's weak sauce, man. Every team has to deal with that. By the way, the Philadelphia Eagles, they lost their MVP starting quarterback last year, and they lost their Hall of Fame left tackle last year. Forget the fact that they won the Super Bowl. They still showed up to play every single week. This year, they lost their starting quarterback again, and they're still showing up to play every single week. I don't want to hear nothing about injuries. That's just an excuse. Everybody has to deal with it, and we need to stop acting like this is a unique situation for Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, they dealt with injuries. Everybody does. Get that crap out of there. Number 2. Norv Turner quit. Pat Shurmur left. Well, that's on Mike Zimmer. You are the top of the food chain when it comes to managing this team. Yes, Rick Spielman, he manages the roster, but as far as managing the team and their performance, including the coaching staff, the assistant coaches, the coordinators, that's on Mike Zimmer, okay? Why is it that coincidentally you went through 4 offensive coordinators in 5 years? Why is that the case? Kevin Stefanski is interviewing for a head coaching position, or he interviewed already this week for the Cleveland Browns head coaching spot, and he's got multiple offensive coordinator position interviews that he's got out there. Okay, why is it that you can't ever seem to have a working relationship or a long-term working relationship with anybody? It's his fault that he can't manage. Whether Norv Turner quit or he got pushed out, you can't handle offensive coordinators, because all you do is get up there and you deflect blame. You deflect blame all the time. Oh, they didn't do this. I want to run the ball more. They should do this. This is terrible. All you do is bash your coordinators left and right, your offensive coordinators all day long. Why the hell would anybody want to stay with you? So that's on Mike Zimmer too. Number 3, the offensive line issues. Come on, man. Don't give me that crap either. You mean to tell me that Mike Zimmer has nothing to do with consulting with Rick Spielman during the draft, instead of saying, hey, this is our priority. This is what we need. We need to beef up the offensive line. But no, a defensive-minded head coach who cares nothing about the offense and sit there and blames the offensive coordinator all day long, has nothing to do with taking Mike Hughes in the first round over a Will Hernandez. Come on, man. Look at the Indianapolis Colts. Look at them. Andrew Luck got his head bashed in all throughout the first couple of years of his career. Then he was out for a year or a year and a half with that shoulder injury before coming back. You know what they decided to do? They said, enough of this. We need to protect this dude. They went out and got Quentin Nelson, a guard, a rookie guard, and he's first team All-Pro this year, man. They addressed their priorities. But instead, we got a team, and this includes Rick Spielman too, that's more interested in getting, well, we can't pass up Mike Hughes or this talent, and we're trying to rack up just as many Pro Bowlers as we can. That's pathetic, man. So I don't want to hear nothing. Don't talk to me about, oh, the offensive line stinks. We said that during the offseason. We already said that. We already saw this coming, but you guys didn't care to take care of it. The Minnesota Vikings, you guys didn't take care of it. All you Mike Zimmer stands, they neglected the offensive line. So don't say all of a sudden the offensive line is an issue as if this is all new information to you. The light bulb just went off. We already knew this was going to be an issue, and it has been for years, and you did a piss poor job of managing that. Number 3, or is this number 4? Number 4, a tough schedule. Oh, really? No bleeps. They had a tougher schedule this year than they did last year. Guess what, folks? When you have a season like you did in 2017, 13-3 record, and the expectations that you have going into this year, you're going to have a first place schedule. This is across the board for everybody else. Why is it, the Minnesota Vikings, they're the only team that had a first place schedule this year? Are they the only ones that did that? Come on, man. Stop with the weak-ass excuses. Come on now. Every team has, not every team, but teams have to do that across the league. It's fair game for everybody. It's equal across the board. But when it's the Vikings, they face too many tough opponents. Come on, man. That's weak. And then number 5, guess what? His overall record is 47-32-1. You don't fire a head coach that's 47-32-1. I don't care about his overall record. See, y'all can gloss over Mike Zimmer's shortcoming, especially in the big moments, all you want to with his overall record. I don't care about his overall record. And I've said this before, the times that you've had successful seasons is when you've had good offenses, either running the coattails or riding the coattails of Adrian Peterson in 2015 or having Pat Shurmur direct your offense in 2017. When it's just Mike Zimmer having to be a head coach by himself, okay, the team fails. The team falls apart. I don't care about his overall record. Andy Reid with the Philadelphia Eagles, what was his record? Great record overall. What was the problem? He couldn't get over that hump with that team. And Mike Zimmer has had 5 years with this team. Couldn't get over the hump, okay? I don't care that he's 47-32-1. When it comes to the big games, you don't show up. And don't talk to me about Mike Zimmer not showing up in the big games and you guys coming up with excuses for him left and right. He even said it in the press conference.
Mike, what do you think is the main thing you guys lacked that the playoff teams have this year?
I mean, you can look at a lot of statistics, but, I think Mark, quite honestly, this football team, for the 4 years that I've been here, had that nasty, we're going to win regardless, no matter what the situation is, mentality. And I don't know that we had it this year. I talked to a couple people during the season that around the building, and I actually said to them, I said, it's just kind of a different vibe with this football team. And I can't figure out why, because we have a lot of the same guys back. We have good football players. I wasn't really different than I normally am, but for some reason, we didn't finish the games like we finished before. So I don't know why. I mean, we had the lead in a bunch of games last year that we finished, and this year we were playing catch up, more so. So I don't know if that's it or not, but we're gonna get that mentality back. I can promise you that.
So Mike Zimmer even said he doesn't know what happened. Oh, but we're going to get that fire back. I can promise you that. And then later on in the press conference, I think he was asked, he was like, okay, so what are you going to do to get that fire back? And he said, I have a plan. He provides nothing but lip service. Nothing but lip service. You have no plan to get this team back there. We didn't have our nastiness. I don't know what happened, but we're going to get it back, I swear. Lip service. When it comes to actually putting a performance, you want to talk about Kirk Cousins getting up to the podium and providing lip service, but then going out on the field and sucking? That's Mike Zimmer too, to a T. They both deserve each other, Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer. They both do the same thing, but we're going after Kirk Cousins more than Mike Zimmer. That's completely bogus. And we're sitting here acting like, again, these excuses that were coming up, it doesn't address the specific issues that I brought regarding Mike Zimmer and why he has failed this team and why this team will never win a championship with Mike Zimmer. If they do, it's going to be because whatever offensive coordinator we bring in, they light the team up. They're going to be the ones that get it together. But as far as Mike Zimmer is the head guy, nah, man, I'm done with them. We're acting like Mike Zimmer is the only. If you love Mike Zimmer, then just say you love Mike Zimmer. But stop acting like this dude is the only head coach in the NFL that has to deal with his adversity. That's weak sauce, man. Get that crap out of my face. But moving forward from that, if it was me, I'd fire Rick Spielman. I'd fire Mike Zimmer. And before I get into the solutions as far as who I would replace them with, I was more flabbergasted at the fact that people were just more scared. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, who are we going to replace him with? Who are we going to replace him with? And it's like, dude, who cares? Sean McVay got a chance, okay, without head coaching experience. Doug Peterson got a chance without head coaching experience, if I'm not mistaken, okay? There are tons of talent out there. You just got to vet and find them. But the point that I'm saying is, all right, let me get this out the way. For GM, I would take a look at Louis Riddick. For head coach, Josh McDaniels. We need an offensive-minded head coach for this team. We've got the personnel on defense. People say, oh, when Mike Zimmer goes, the defense will go away. No, it won't. You still got Eric Kendricks under a long-term deal. You just signed Danielle Hunter to a long-term deal. You still got Mike Hughes and Holton Hill on rookie contracts. You've got team control over Trey Waynes. You still got Harrison Smith. I don't get what the problem is. You still got the personnel there. Make something happen. All you need is George Edwards. I think he could call plays. You still have the personnel there. They're not going to all of a sudden suck. Come on, man, get out of there with that. But we need an offensive-minded coach that's going to maximize the talent of this offense. I'm sick of this offense being a consistent letdown every other year being a letdown. Because if we bring in just another hot offensive coordinator, and that could happen if the offense lights it up next season in 2019, in 2020 in the offseason, guess what? That offensive coordinator, because we're not going to get rid of Mike Zimmer. We love him so much. That offensive coordinator is going to get a head coaching job somewhere else. So I would go Josh McDaniels and Louis Riddick. And even if you couldn't get them, I've seen enough of Mike Zimmer to know that he is not the guy. Bring up specific reasons why he should get a pass. Every other head coach, if they were in this position, they be getting the same flack. But for some reason, and I got to give it to you, Mike Zimmer stands, you guys do a better job at defending Mike Zimmer than his players do at defending US Bank Stadium, okay? It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. You guys are more mad at me calling out the BS of Mike Zimmer and the specific stuff that I bring up. I'm not making it up. You can see it for yourself. You're mad at me for pointing out the flaws of this team instead of being mad at the team itself. That's crazy, man. Outside of that, they're not getting rid of Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, at least for 2019, so okay, fine. What can they do moving forward? Again, address the offensive line. Now, when it comes to the situation that the Vikings are in, you have a very hefty price tag on the quarterback that you have. Now, when you look at, let's say, the Kansas City Chiefs or the LA Rams or even the Chicago Bears, you have rookie quarterbacks that are good. Mitch Trubisky, I think that's still a wild card, but his defense can carry him, and he doesn't necessarily make too many mistakes, but he's still not bad. You still got to go out there and make the plays. But those three teams, they're in situations where they have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, but they can fill the rest of their roster with expensive free agents, or they can sign the rest of their personnel to big-time contracts. That's a luxury. With the Vikings, it's different. It's the opposite. You have a very hefty contract with your quarterback, and you have to figure out how to fill out the rest of your roster. You do the opposite, okay? You draft a rookie quarterback like those three teams, the Bears, the Rams, and the Chiefs did. And with the rest of the team, they just get expensive free agents. Well, with the Vikings, you have an expensive quarterback. You need to value the draft. The draft is your baby. That is your pot of gold. You need to value that so that way you can surround them with really good talent on the cheap. With good scouting and good coaching, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. That's why you need to take care of the draft. Now, as far as how to do that, free up some cap space, you need to restructure Kyle Rudolph's contract and Everson Griffin's contract. If Everson Griffin wants to say, no, hell no, I'm keeping my contract, then I don't know. I haven't taken a look on Spotrac.com to see if there's a cap hit with him, but I would trade him. I would look to trade him because we have Stephen Weatherly and we can have Danielle Hunter take that right end spot. I like those two defensive ends a lot. And Everson Griffin, I'm sorry, we need to cut his contract to free up some cap space. And the rest and the other solutions that I have, you need to franchise tag Anthony Barr so you can trade him. All right, for whatever reason, all these teams think he's hot stuff, even though I know for a fact that he's not. He's proven that he went to the Pro Bowl off of, at the time, 49 tackles. And you know what's crazy? All you advanced metrics stat geeks out there, you know what? I like advanced metrics, but the people that go out there and use that as the sole focus, it's like, what? Do you even look at the game or do you just read box scores? Okay? People's like, oh, the pressure. He was top 5 or top 10 in pressure or whatever the hell that was. I'm sorry. If you're one of the best of your position, I don't care about initiating plays for other people. You need to also finish plays. 49 damn tackles at the time you were selected to the Pro Bowl is completely inexcusable. I'm sorry, man. Get that out of my face. But for some reason, all these teams think Anthony Barr is Khalil Mack or Von Miller, and I would franchise tag him and just trade him, whether it's for a guard, a starting guard, or to move up in the draft and collect as many top first or second or third round draft picks as you possibly can. And I've thought about this a little more. I would trade Xavier Rhodes, free up that contract that he's got. I would trade Xavier Rhodes while his value can still be a little bit either mid-tier to high, because I'm telling you, cornerbacks, when they have that drop off, is very hard for them to recover. So that way, but if he sucks next year, if he falls apart next year, again, it's hard for them to recover. If he falls apart next year too, his trade value goes to hell. I would trade him. And look, it'd be nice, and I've said this on Facebook Live. Check out the Facebook page, guys, at Realistic Randy, or Twitter at realistic_Randy. But I said this on Facebook Live. I love interacting with you guys. But I said the thing with Xavier Rhodes, it'd be nice if we can have a shutdown corner that can follow guys around the main target, whether it's Julio Jones or Michael Thomas or whoever the hell. That'd be really nice to do. But if you're going to have a cheaper secondary overall, as far as less money, into where they can just stay on their sides, and regardless, it doesn't matter who they line up against, because I'm telling you, Holton Hill, Mike Hughes, those are starting cornerbacks in this league. Trey Waynes, he had a pretty good year. Mackenzie Alexander had a very good year. I'm okay with those four. And not only that, you have a very crowded secondary. You're going to have to get rid of one of them. And right now, Xavier Rhodes holds the most value out of all of them. I would trade him and franchise tag Anthony Barr and load up on the draft, man, which is much offensive lineman as you can. And maybe if you can trade for a starting one, that's fine too. But I think offensive linemen, they're few and far between. And there's such a hot commodity across the league that I doubt you'd be able to get a starting caliber offensive lineman from that, because you got a lot of holes to fill. Riley Reef, he did a terrible job. Tom Compton, terrible job. Pat Elflein, he was terrible, but you got to think he'll come back. Right guard, Mike Remmers, he was terrible. Brian O'Neill was... Hell, I just had an epiphany right now. Brian O'Neill was our only good offensive lineman this year. That's crazy. He was our only good offensive lineman. You have a lot of holes. And then behind the starting holes that you have, you need depth behind that. So you got to address that. You need to do that. And you need to go after an offensive coordinator. I've seen that Hugh Jackson's name is attached to this team. I'm not really thrilled at that, but I'm not going to completely toss it aside because, yes, he was a terrible head coach. I'm not going to sit here and use that against him as far as what he can do as an offensive coordinator, but I want nothing to do with Hugh Jackson. I wouldn't be super mad if they went after him. And then I've seen Marvin Lewis' name thrown out there. I'm telling you right now, if you bring in Marvin Lewis, this is just, you're asking to be fired eventually. But outside of that, I don't know, man. You need to take your job seriously. We have a GM that's more interested in racking up Pro Bowlers instead of putting together a quality team, and we have a head coach who's really a defensive coordinator posing as a head coach. That's what I would do. This is Realistic Randy, Mediokr at Best Sports Podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube page. People are saying, oh, you didn't post anything after the Chicago Bears game. Guys, pay attention. Those podcasts, they're now on 1500 ESPN's YouTube channel. That will be on Tuesdays. Now that the holidays are over with, Tuesdays will be 1500 ESPN. Saturdays will be this channel. We'll see you on Tuesday.